Hi. Hey, really sorry about it. For some reason, it got disconnected. My connection is also good, but right. Okay. Okay. So sorry about that. My connection got disconnected for some reason. So we were talking about the real life applications of AI and ML, right? Uh, as I said, some of the things you have already have an idea. Okay, they use AI ML. So in some cases, no, you might not have an idea that they use AI and ML inside, right? Let's start with something very basic. All of you would have used Google Maps in one way or the other, right? I'm pretty sure that you use it to find a place, you use it to get an estimated time of travel, etc. But if you actually look at it, Google Maps is one of the most advanced applications which use AI and ML, right? Take for example, you want to go from Peta to Borrell, right? So right throughout that stretch, it always analyzes the traffic. Okay, how does the traffic really look like, and what is the delay factor? By how many minutes will you get delayed by these things, right? So all these things are actually AI driven inside that. And then you have Facebook. It's one of the most interesting places where AI and ML is being used, right? So look at it. Facebook knows the kind of people that you're interacting with, kind of posts that you read, the kind of posts that you interact with, right? And it knows your interests, right? So it uses AI and ML models to have a profile, to make a profile about you, right? And depending on your profile and depending on the content, you get your news feed, right? So it uses a lot of advanced techniques in AI and ML and a lot of different models to profile you, to get an understanding about you, and to show you content, both your friends' content and the content that you would be interested in, plus the sponsored content, right? So it's another key field where you have very interesting applications in AI and ML. And then in recommendation engines, right? So a few months back, I attended a lecture by Lakshmanan, head of analytics in GCP. He did a session in UCSC. So what he said was, there are a lot of advanced recommendation engines that go behind eBay, Spotify, etc., right? And the most interesting part is, if you take Spotify for example, these models which have been trained become very obsolete after about 1 week, right? In eBay or in certain these online platforms, they become obsolete after 24 hours. So that's how dynamic these environments are, and you need to keep on changing these models, and even models need to keep on updating. What do you mean? I have a question. Can we have a simple example for AI implementation? So I'm not getting into coding, but these are a couple of examples that I talked about, like regression, classification, etc. So in this session, I don't intend to get into coding, but maybe later on with a Zoom session, etc., we'll definitely talk about it. How Google Maps got traffic details. So there are various data points that Google Maps is collecting, right? One of the key basic data point is actually your GPS tracker, how fast you're moving, whether you're actually moving, whether you're stationary, etc., right? So this is and it gets the GPS data from a lot of different people, and depending on the movement of these people in a particular stretch in a grid, it calculates whether the scenario is actually traffic or whether you're actually staying at home, etc., right? So if you take right now, a lot of different people are at their houses, right? So you will see clusters of tracker points, but they are not essentially on a road or traveling to a certain direction, right? So again, it uses certain advanced classifications to figure out whether the person is actually in a building, set of people, or whether they are on the road and actually moving, whether it implicates traffic. So the fundamental data point is actually the GPS tracker. LSTM, long short-term memory, is actually a type of a neural network, right? So it also comes under the deep learning, etc. So you say a neural network is deep when you have a lot of multiple layers, right? Say if you're talking about 10-20 layers in a simple neural network, you can say that it is deep learning. I'm not getting deep into all these things, right? I think it would be better if we can have a Zoom session, etc., so that I can share the screen also. But LSTM is a form of a neural network, long short-term memory. Nice. How to apply and how to start this, right? So if you are actually new to AI and ML, right, I think the best would be to read about it first. Right? There are so many videos on YouTube, free. So you go through these things and get the fundamental idea. And then again, there are so many courses online, Coursera, Udemy, and basically every tutorial site will actually have a lot of different courses with regard to AI, ML, data science, deep learning, neural networks. Those will be specialized also, right? So you start with an introduction. Always start with an introduction. See, the biggest problem, as I mentioned at the very beginning, right, is that our students are really good at calling functions and getting things implemented, right? They somehow come up with a code to do it, but they don't know the fundamentals behind that, right? They don't know the concepts that go behind it. Without knowing your fundamentals and concepts, you cannot improve the model that you have built, right? You cannot explain the model you have built. You cannot tweak it if you don't know the computations or the fundamentals inside it. So you should be able to map what sort of an algorithm, what sort of a model is really essential for this sort of a problem. And to do that, you need to have the understanding, the fundamental understanding of this entire thing. And this is what I have been telling you right throughout this session, right? These are the basic, the core principles behind it. So I always advise, go start with introductory tutorials, right? Don't go and start with neural networks or deep learning tutorials, not gonna help. Start with fundamentals, data science, fundamentals of data science, machine learning, etc. And all of these sites actually offer courses, and they are not very expensive also. Like if I think some are 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, likewise, depending on the site, etc. Right? And there are so many free courses. If you actually just do a simple Google search and see, there are a lot of free search tutorials as well. And the best place would always be to start like that, the best thing. And always read. There are so many different types of blogs. Get used to reading Google AI blog, then Azure machine learning blogs are there. There's something called Machine Learning Mastery blog, which is very interesting and very intuitive. So there are good reads all around from which you can get a very good understanding about the concepts, the algorithms, the computations behind all of this, right? AI implementation session. Let's see, depending on the time, we'll try to accommodate that as well. There are some things that I can show, there are some things that I can't show. with regard to my work, etc. But let's see if time permits. Definitely, we'll go for an AI implementation session, but not on Instagram. I think we need to definitely have Zoom or a different platform to do that. Give me 1 second. Right. Okay. So I'll come to the concluding remarks, but before that, I'll explain two things for you. Right. One is we talked about how Google Maps is using AI, how Facebook is using AI, how recommendation engines, Spotify, eBay, and all that, how they use AI and all that, and then financial crime. Right. That is also an area where AI and ML is being used extensively. For example, when you take the credit transactions of a particular person, they adhere to a certain pattern depending on the person and the person's profile. If you see certain transactions which deviate from that fundamental pattern, there are a lot of different advanced applications which are meant to flag that transaction. So sometimes your bank is giving you calls and asking how it happens. So I'm not getting deep into how these things happen, but there are a lot of publicly available information that you can read as well, right? So financial crimes, definitely a very interesting area of application. There's something that I want to actually talk about before concluding with regard to current implementations. For those of you who know Kaggle, right? So currently there are two competitions going on in Kaggle with regard to COVID-19. You also can take part in it, and you also can submit, try out certain things, or read and learn certain things that people have already submitted, right? One such problem is currently there are around 30,000 plus scientific papers, scientific journals written by doctors and different scientific groups about this COVID-19. But for someone, a new doctor, or even for a research scientist in Sri Lanka, it's very difficult to, you're definitely not going to read 30,000 plus, right? So this competition is all about how you can use natural language processing, AI-based natural language processing, to collate the concepts that are being elaborated in all these 30,000 plus papers into one common understandings under different themes, right? Infection rates, risk factors, etc. Right? So it's definitely very interesting application of NLP. You can go and check out Kaggle. There's also another Kaggle competition where you're supposed to predict the death rate, right, and the infection rate. So the idea is actually not to be very accurate. I predicted that 1,000 people are going to die, and in the next week, and I become very accurate. No, that's not the point. But if you are capable of predicting the infection rate or the death rate quite accurately for historical data, what it means is that you have developed a model which captures the exact factors which influence it in the real life. Maybe it can be something completely different, human movement, right? Behavioral analytics, or it can be weather data, right? So if your model is very accurate, which means your model has the features in the real life which actually contribute to these infections and death rates, right? So the objective of that competition is not to predict the death rate accurately, but to develop a model so that you understand the real factors, and you can tell your doctors and government and go try and change these particular factors to influence these factors, right? So definitely check out Kaggle as well. And I think we have come to the end of it, right? And always when you're coming for an interview, etc., when you're coming for a job, know what you're talking about. If you have done AI and ML, right, a lot of people have just called a function, right? But that's not going to help you, right? Read about what the function does. Read about the algorithms. Now, when I personally do certain interviews, now especially with final year projects, etc., I know we all know that you haven't done the entire project. It's a team effort, right? That's fine. Whatever the part that you have done, we go very deep into it, right? So we ask questions to go very deep into the particular part that you have done, right? And if you have your depth of knowledge, that means you're a person who's capable of going deep into a problem. That's exactly the kind of caliber we are looking at in Virtusa, right? And in other IT firms also, right? So always go deep in what you do. And this is a message that I really want to pass down to A-level students, undergraduates, and even recent graduates, right? Because doing something on the surface is very temporary, right? You don't have to know everything. Of course, none of us know everything in these areas. But one thing that you have done, go deep. Go deep and have the best understanding about what it is. Let me check if there are more questions. So there's a question about k-means and clustering. Send it to us, we'll get back to you, right? I think we're running out of time on it. Okay, so follow this page. That's something that I want to, a message that I want to leave. Follow this page, interact with us, right? If you have any doubt with regard to your career, with regard to AI/ML or a technical problem or anything, just come to us. And if there are other topics that you want to cover, right? Cloud computing, microservices, or etc., let us know. Let us know the areas that you're interested in. Get together and drop us a message. Definitely, folks at Virtusa will try to accommodate your requests. The objective is to give you an understanding about the fundamental concepts, right? So that you just don't call a function and do your thing, but you understand what's going on behind it. Our target audience, as I said at the very beginning, A-level students, undergrads, recent grads, and anyone who's interested in the field, right? So all in all, I hope that you got something out of it. I'm getting questions about vacancies at Virtusa. Drop us a message. Definitely our HR team will get back to you on those aspects. I honestly don't know whether we have vacancies in that particular area right now, but our HR team will definitely revert. Okay, thank you so much, and stay home, stay safe, right? Learn about these things, read about COVID, get deep into how we model human behavior, etc., human movement, how we predict certain infections, etc. These are very, very, very interesting areas, right? And there are a lot of things to learn. I'm learning a lot of things as well while we do things. So all in all, I think hope it went well, and most importantly, if you have got something out of this session, I would be more than happy. And I would like to thank the HR team of Virtusa, the Campus Reach team, Nadira, Aniston, and them. And I also would like to thank the Corpcom team who made it all possible. Thank you so much. Follow the page, engage with us, let us know how you feel about this, questions or topics that you want to cover. Good luck and all the very best. Stay safe. Thank you.